Hey Rangers, sorry I wasn't in class today. So today is Thursday, March 25th, 2021. So this is a video to kind of teach you what you need to do and the skills that you're learning and you should be practicing. Also to give you the answer to this question. Number one, you will get at the end, so make sure you watch it to the end of the video. All right, so your learning target today is making a prediction from probability data. And remember, a prediction is what we think is going to happen. And so we're moving into the future. And so we'll be looking at how do we take something we know and apply it to make it into something we're trying to figure out. Okay, so we're going to be looking at ratios, and we're going to be looking at equivalent ratios and multiplying and all sorts of stuff. So let's get into it. All right, so really quick reminder of ratio tables. It's been a while since we talked about them, but essentially we can use a ratio table to make equivalent ratios. We can go up, we can go down, and to go up and down, we're going to multiply and divide. But for this sake, for today, we're really going to be focusing on moving up in the table. So for example, I can take a 1 over 5 or 1/5 and turn it into 2/10 by multiplying top and bottom by 2. 1/5 into 5/25 by multiplying top and bottom by 5. And 1/5 into 20 over 100 by multiplying top and bottom by 20. So 1/5 is equal to 2/10, which is equal to 5/25. So the big concept here that you need to understand is that whatever I do at the top, I have to do at the bottom. So if I change this by multiplying by 2, I got to change this by multiplying by 2. And then so on with times 5 and times 5 and times 20 and times 20. So whatever I do at the top, to stay proportional, I must do to the bottom. All right, so that's a big key concept because we're going to be practicing that. So let's go take a look at an example of what you guys are going to be asked to do. And so with making predictions, you will be presented in more cases than not, a table or a bulleted list. And you can turn a bulleted list into a table. So in this case, we have a question here that says a recent poll asked 40 students what type of gaming system they preferred to play, and the results are shown in the table below. So we have PC is 6, Xbox is 14, PS4 is 13, and then none for no gaming system was 4. So the question is going to ask you if 200 total students were polled, then what would be a good prediction of the number of students that used an Xbox? So step one is going to be, is the total included in your table? Right? That hasn't changed since we started probability. That was like day one from the beginning. Find the total, put it in the table. And so in this case, remember, total means to add all these up. And when we add up 9, 14, 13, or 4, it gives me a total of 40. Also, sometimes if you're lucky, they'll give you the total in the word problem. You need to make sure you see it in the table, so do take the time to add that row of total. It will help you moving forward, and you need to use these steps. So step one, find the total. So the next step to make a prediction, because remember, we want to know if 200 were polled, what would be the number of students that picked Xbox? Well, we don't know 200, but we do know 40. So what we need to do is make a new row or new column, for the predictions. And what the main thing here is that not only do we need to make that new column for predictions, we need to include the new total. And that new total is going to come from right there. It's going to come from the question. It'll say if 500, if 1,000, if 350, some kind of new number that we're trying to get to. We're at 40, we're trying to get to 200. So in this step, you make that new column, and this is where our answers will be. And we include that new total in that column because we do know that, right? Currently, we know we're trying to get to 200. All right, so the next step, and this is when the math starts, is we got to determine what factor multiplied number by, what can I multiply 40 by to make 200? And so this is a little bit of a guess and check or using some rationality, right? And saying, what numbers do I know I can multiply 4 by to make 20 or 40 to make 200? Well, I know 40 times 1 is 40. 40 times 2 is 80. 40 times 3 is 120. 40 times 6 is 240. Too much? Okay, so what about 5? So if I did the math, 40 times 5 would give me 200. So now I know that I can multiply this 40 times 5 to make 200. And that's super, super important because we're going to use that factor, okay, moving forward. And so once I know what I multiply 40 by to make 200, 5, just like we looked at the ratio table, whatever I do to the bottom, I have to do the top, or whatever I do to the top, I have to do to the bottom. Well, in this case, the last step for solving predictions is exactly the same concept. So whatever I did to turn the 40 into 200, in this case times 5, I have to do to all parts of the table. So if I did 40 times 5, I have to multiply 9 times 5. That's 45. 14 times 5 would give me 70. 13 times 5 gives me 65. 4 times 5 is 20. And then where we started this. And so that's what we need to do, right? We need to use our proportionality, our ratio tables, our scale factors, and that's what we're going to do. So once we do that, then my answer here, my prediction is 70, because that's what it says for Xbox. So let's recap a little bit. So when we're given a prediction problem, step 1 is find the total of the table and write it down. Step 2, create a new column with the new total, what I'm trying to get to. Step 3, figure out how can I turn this number into this number. So if this was a 10 and 100, it would be times 10. If this was a 5 and a 20, times 4. If this was a 6 and a 600, times 100. Okay, so what can I do to turn this into this? Once I know that, I'm going to do whatever it is to the entire table. So if this was times 10, it would be everything times 10. In this case, it's times 5, so it's everything times 5. So what we did here is then now look at if 200 people, total students, were polled, based on what we know on the original table, we can predict that 70 students would be Xbox players, because 14 times my scale factor of 5 gives me 70. Okay, so thank you for watching the video like you're supposed to. So question 1 is asking for the password. The password you need to type in the box below to get the answer, get full credit to show me you watched this, is the word factor in all caps. I do want it in all caps. I take that back. Just type the word factor in the box, and then go ahead and move to questions 2 and continue down the rest of the practice. So first and second period, if you have questions, Miss Libby should be there. Of course, she would be able to help you. And then sixth period, if you get questions, just email me. I don't know if I'll get to them. We will go over this tomorrow. Eighth period, if Mr. Couture is there, Mr. K is there, then you guys can obviously ask him for help. But if you can't get a hold of him or he's not there, again, we'll go over this tomorrow as well. So I appreciate the hard work you guys are doing. We got 2 more days. We're almost there. And we'll continue looking at these tables tomorrow as well. So, all right, guys, have a good day. And let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.